Namaste and welcome to Code Divinity. I am your coding friend Om, and I am proud to say that the problem that we are going to solve today has been contributed by me on the LeetCode platform. So the problem is removing trailing zeros from a string, and it is an easy level problem. So in this problem, we will be provided num as an input, and this num will be in the form of string. Now, what are trailing zeros? For example, let's take a number 58400. In this integer, there are two trailing zeros. So the zeros which are occurring at the end of an integer, such zeros are called trailing zeros. So our task for this problem is to remove these trailing zeros and return the remaining portion as our answer in string format. Now the concept of the problem is clear to us. Let's formulate the algorithm. First, we will compute the size of our num input and store it in a variable n. Then we will begin a for loop from I equals to n minus 1 and it will go up to 0. So this is a backward iterating for loop. Then within this for loop, we will check if num of I is not equal to character 0. So here we are checking if any non-zero number is encountered. In that case, we will break the loop, and finally we will return num from 0 to I plus 1 position. This is also called slicing. In slicing, we take an iterable, put a starting index and an ending index, and we obtain this sliced portion like a slice of bread, and hence this becomes our answer. Now let's code this solution on LeetCode. So this is the problem on LeetCode. Remove trailing zeros from a string. This is an easy level problem. Now let's read the problem statement. It says that given a positive integer num represented as a string. So we will be given a positive integer in the form of string as an input, and we have to return the integer without trailing zeros as a string. So we have to give back a string, but this string will not contain any trailing zeros. We have discussed already what the trailing zeros are. They are the zeros which are occurring at the end of an integer. Let's check the examples given here. 51230100. So there are two trailing zeros at the end of this input. We will remove it, and hence our output becomes 512301, and there are no zeros after this. In example 2, there are no trailing zeros, thus we will return the num as it is. Let's check the constraint. Our num input will contain at least one digit and can contain about maximum 1000 digits. The second constraint says that there will be only digits, so there will be no decimal point, plus sign or minus sign, just the digits from 0 to 9. And this num will not contain any leading zeros. Now, if the problem is clear to us, let's start coding our algorithm. First, we will initialize an integer n, which will store the size of our num string. Then we will declare an integer I. It is important to initialize this I pointer here. I will let you know in some time. Then we will start a for loop, and I will be initialized to n minus 1 position. So we will start from the end of the string, and we will iterate until I reaches the 0th position or the first element of our num string, and we will decrement our I pointer. This is a backward for loop, so remember to decrement the pointer, not increment it. Within this for loop, we will check if the ith element of num is any non-zero number. Be mindful that we are checking the character 0 and not the actual number 0. So if we will encounter any non-zero character, we will break our for loop. Now the I pointer is indicating first non-zero character. And now we will perform the slicing. So slicing can be done in C++ using substring function, and we will slice from the position 0 and it will go up to I plus 1, which is the last non-zero number in our string. And hence we have completed the coding of our algorithm. We declared the I variable outside the for loop because if we wrote int I inside the for loop, when the for loop will terminate, the integer I will also be removed from the memory. So we will not be able to access it while we are slicing our string. Now let's run our solution and check whether it is working or not. So it is working perfectly on our example cases. Now let's check it on all the private test cases. Hence we have completed our solution. Thank you so much for being with me throughout this solution. I will meet you in the next one.